President Biden has made a decision to pardon his son Hunter ahead of the transfer of power to President-elect Donald Trump, according to a senior White House official with direct knowledge of the decision. He's expected to announce it later on tonight. And this comes months after Hunter Biden was convicted on gun charges back in June. That marks the first time a sitting president's child was convicted of a crime. Hunter Biden also pleaded guilty to federal tax charges in September. White House officials and President Biden himself have said repeatedly that he would not, in fact, pardon Hunter before leaving office. But tonight we learned of the president's decision. Again, a reversal for him and what the White House has said President Biden would do. I want to bring in our White House correspondent, Mike Memoli, who's joining us now on the phone from Washington. Tell us more, Mike. Why did this happen and why the reversal?
Well, Hallie, this marks a reversal of what has been the public posture of the White House for months. Since the president's son was first found guilty by a Delaware jury of gun-related charges, and then later when he pled guilty to tax-related charges, the White House has insisted, including as recently as last week, that the president was not considering a pardon or a commutation of his son's sentences, which still have not, we should add, been handed down by the respective courts in which he was found guilty. But what we understand to have taken place is a series of conversations, father and son, that included just this past weekend in Nantucket. I was with the president in Nantucket this weekend. He has spent the Thanksgiving holiday there with his family for decades, but this weekend was just him, the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, his son Hunter and his family, as well as his daughter Ashley. And as the president returned to Washington to the White House last night, he began to inform White House officials of this decision, that he would be making the pardon official. Now, the president has been discussing this matter with his close aides for some time, even as the White House publicly said that they were not considering this, but that this is a decision that obviously carries significant weight. And I must say, Hallie, I was at the White House today. I'm still at the White House now, as a matter of fact. We saw the president and the First Lady speaking publicly on the issue of World AIDS Day, and both of them were I was struck by the emotion in their voice as they were talking about the family having to deal with loss. Of course, we know the president lost his eldest son, Beau. He lost his wife, his first wife, Neely, in a car accident 52 years ago this month. And the emotion of the moment seemed to be particularly poignant for him. And so this is a decision obviously coming at the end of his time in office, with just 51 days left before he hands off power to President-elect Donald Trump. And part of the concern that has been leading to the speculation that he would do this is about what investigations might still come. Would a Trump administration, would a Trump Justice Department continue with additional prosecutions? Would the prospect of his only remaining son going to jail, if that would be the sentence that would be handed down, be something that would be too much for this president, for this family to bear? And so now we have the decision that has not yet been announced publicly by the White House, but which NBC News, with our colleague Carol Lee and Sarah Fitzpatrick, reporting this evening.
Mike, I know there was a bit of a sort of technical delay here, but I'm going to try again. I want to ask you this. We know that the sentencing for Hunter Biden was set to be in just a couple of weeks, December 12th and December 16th, on those two separate cases. To be clear, this pardon would cover both of those convictions, right? Both the conviction and the guilty plea, yes?
That's our understanding at this point, Hallie. But I think it is important to note that one of the things that complicates this issue is that the sentences have not been handed down just yet. And so as this reporting is just coming out, we're waiting for full information. I think it's important to wait and see what the White House puts out directly on this matter, because the paperwork for this kind of issue of a pardon of this nature does require the Justice Department to weigh in. There are officials that have to go through the process of making this official. And so the under the pardon power, this is just a way for the president to spare his son of any jail time. It's also worth noting that the denials of this have not just been coming from the White House, from the president himself. I spoke with First Lady Jill Biden just after the Delaware case was resolved and the guilty sentence came down, and I said to her, I asked her this question, that your husband has the power to spare your son of this fate, this potential jail time. Don't you wish that he could exercise this power? And she said to me that we respect the rule of justice in this country, and that was not something they were contemplating. So this has been, as the president was weighing the re-election campaign, the fate of his family was something that they considered about whether to seek a second term. As he waged that campaign, there was a number of developments in this case, including, remember, that plea that was originally meant to resolve this, in which he would plead guilty to both charges in 2023 to avoid the trial from even happening. That plea deal fell apart. He had to then go through a grueling trial, the First Lady present in the courtroom every day, almost every day during that trial. The jury of Biden's own hometown of Wilmington, Delaware, coming down with that guilty plea, and then just weeks later, the president had that fateful debate against Donald Trump. And so the story of President Biden is one in which, as he himself says, family is the beginning, the middle, and the end. And now you have the president in his final days of office taking this action, which a president has that unique prerogative, that unique power of the presidential pardon, to take this burden off of his son. It's a decision that it has been so complicated, but one that the president has ultimately decided and made after spending that time, spending the last few days, this holiday period, with his family in Nantucket.
Mike Memoli, thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate that. Let me bring in our NBC News legal analyst, Danny Savalos, who is joining us also on the phone. You heard Mike say it is a unique power. It is also an expansive one, Danny, for President Biden to issue pardons. In this case, it is NBC's reporting, at least at the moment, that it is a pardon and not a commutation. Explain the distinction here and functionally what this means for Hunter Biden moving forward. We're going to work on getting Danny's phone line figured out there as he is joining us now. Again, this news developing in just the last couple of minutes here. And so to reiterate to folks, according to a senior White House official with direct knowledge of the decision, President Biden has made a decision to issue a pardon for Hunter Biden, who, again, has faced that conviction, that guilty plea on both the federal gun charges as well as federal tax evasion charges. It is expected, it is anticipated that President Biden will make this announcement official later on tonight. Again, that pardon for Hunter Biden. I want to bring back in Mike Memoli here. So Mem, let me put that question to you that we were trying to get to Danny here. Functionally, this means presumably that Hunter Biden will not have to go to those sentencings that were set to come up just really 11 days from now and 14 days from now, coast to coast. Working out those tech gremlins here. We will, of course, have continuing coverage of this significant decision by President Biden. As you heard our team of reporters and correspondents lay out, including our Kara Lee, Sarah Fitzpatrick, and Monica Alba, who are behind this reporting, President Biden is expected to pardon his son Hunter later on tonight. He has made that decision. You heard Mike Memoli talk about spending the Thanksgiving holiday with his close family. It is a reversal for President Biden, who has long said for months that he would not, in fact, pardon his son. The White House just reiterating this only weeks ago, and yet less than 2 months before that transfer of power to President-elect Trump, we are expecting that news from President Biden tonight. We will have much more coverage right here on NBC News Now, on NBCnews.com, and then, of course, a full wrap-up tomorrow morning on Today.